After a month of madness, after a month of misadventures, after a month of prostrating before China and Iran, after a month of trying to reset America's Indo-Pacific and Middle East policies, Joe Biden has lost, or rather has been tamed by allies like India, Japan and Israel. Joe Biden is now towing the line of United States' allies. Hi and welcome to TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I am your host Sanbir Singh, and in this video we shall talk about how President Biden has been forced by American allies to abandon his godfather Barack Obama's redundant foreign policy goals. US President Joe Biden started his tenure in January with a lot of vigor. He wanted to do a lot of things, which includes befriending Iran and China. In fact, Biden charged in like a raging bull on issues like reviving the Iran nuclear deal and letting China go scot-free over the Uyghur genocide. But he has been tamed by India, Japan and Israel in just over a month. In the Middle East, for instance, Biden showed how he was desperate to revive the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA, or the nuclear deal. Tehran itself noticed Biden's desperation for rejoining the JCPOA. Therefore, Iranian leadership started aiming big. The Shiite nation wanted unconditional revocation of American sanctions. In appeasing Iran, Biden was constantly charging in like a raging bull against two US allies in the Middle East, Israel and Saudi Arabia, but it didn't work. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu knew exactly how to deal with Biden. He made an election issue out of Biden's desperation to rejoin the JCPOA and also started to warn of dramatic consequences as well as heightened military preparation against the Shiite nation. This was a signal of how things could escalate in case Biden went ahead with his plans. In the Middle East, Biden stands compelled to continue from where Trump left. So, the maximum pressure policy is back again, as Biden has started showing military muscle against the Shiite nation all over again. An unwilling Biden has also continued Trump's sanctions against Iran. A foreign policy reset is also happening in the Indo-Pacific. Again, we have the same story. India and Japan came close to Trump, which made Quad an informal strategic forum comprising of Japan, India, Australia and the US, an overwhelming force in the region. Yet, Biden had his own issues. He wanted to turn back the clock and return to the pre-Trump days when Biden's former boss, Obama, was bringing the US and China extremely close. Regardless of the new global realities, Biden wasn't ready to call China an enemy. Rather, he wanted to treat the communist nation as nothing more than a serious competitor. So, in his first month of power, Biden did many things for China and came charging in like a raging bull against India and Japan. Firstly, Biden tried to do two things: undermine the Quad and dilute the vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific. Both these formats were inherently anti-China, and so there was a clear pro-China bent in Biden's administration. Later, Biden started going berserk. He tried to downplay the issue of Uyghur concentration camps located in China-occupied Xinjiang. To make it worse, Biden was also ready to abandon Japan as China stepped up aggression in the East China Sea with the object of taking over the Senkaku Islands. Yet, India and Japan have tamed the raging bull in Biden. The fact remains that New Delhi and Tokyo are still the frontline US allies in the region, and Biden couldn't have simply ignored them. The signal from India and Japan was clear. China is the biggest threat, and that centrality of the Indo-Pacific has to be upheld. Soon, Biden realized that Japan and India are too strong to be bullied, and it is Biden who had to make a foreign policy reset. Now, Biden is making amends. He is planning to host Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga at the White House in April. A first ever meeting of the Quad head of states is also in the reckoning. Australia's Prime Minister Scott Morrison said, "This is one of the first things President Biden and I discussed when we spoke some weeks ago, and I spoke to Vice President Kamala Harris just this past week." As for India, US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin is expected to visit this month. This shows how even Biden cannot afford to ignore Indo-US ties in the defense sector. There is a clear course correction in Biden's Indo-Pacific policy. We can see a pro-Quad Indo-Pacific pivot in the Biden administration, and it directly militates against Beijing's aspirations. The raging bull in Biden thus stands tamed. He played his cards too early, and American allies knew exactly how to handle him.